Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar, Salesforce Quote-to-Cash Unravelled. Thank you for joining us. Let me kick off by thanking you for joining us today. I'll shortly be handing over to my colleague Gavin Palmer, who will give us an overview of Salesforce Quote-to-Cash, including a clear explanation of what it is, what is CPQ as a solution, and why some businesses could benefit from it. He'll share a live demonstration with us so we can see CPQ in practice. And we'll take a look in both Classic and Lightning if we have time, so you can see whatever is most familiar to you. And then at the end, we have time for questions. So feel free to submit those using the chat box that should be appearing on your screen. You can submit those at any time. Feel free to do so, but I'll be holding all questions till the end of the demonstration when Gavin's finished. Before I hand over to Gavin, let me just share a little bit of information about BrightGen by way of an introduction for those attendees who don't already know us. We're a pure Salesforce partner and have been so for over 10 years now. We've been an approved platinum level partner since the beginning of the program, which comes with a number of essential requirements, including the high customer satisfaction score of 9.8 that you see here on the screen. And we have over 100 employees across our 3 offices. All of the BrightGen Salesforce experts are in-house and UK based, and we do work internationally. They're also heavily certified across the Salesforce product suite. We have 2 certified technical architects, which is the highest level of Salesforce certification available. So let me hand you over to Gavin, one of our resident experts on CPQ. Over to you, Gavin.
Hello. So I'm Gavin Palmer, so I'm a CPQ consultant here at BrightGen. So today I'm just going to go through a little bit of what CPQ is and a bit of Quote-to-Cash as well. So first I just want to talk about what is the need for CPQ. So this is probably an important question a lot of you are going to be thinking about. So one of the things we look at is when you have quite a lot of spreadsheets. So you're keeping a lot of your data and a lot of your pricing in spreadsheets, because obviously this becomes difficult to maintain and you've got to keep the versions all up to date. And again, so similar to that point, so the multiple versions with those spreadsheets, it can be very difficult and troublesome. Or if you may have manually calculated prices, so this might be that you have to calculate it, write it down on a piece of paper before inputting it into a system to actually do anything with it. And then doing that could mean that you don't have necessarily any validation processes. So the prices that you're putting in, you can put at any price point, which is not good from a business's perspective. And then no records. So when quotes could be handwritten, so you might just write the quote onto a piece of paper, hand it to the customer, and then that's sort of the price that you're offering them. And then so all of these sort of talk into the same point really, that there's no single source of information for management to see your pricing and your product suite. So what is CPQ? The easiest answer is it's configure price quote, but it's a term that's commonly used for the process leading up to a sales proposal for companies with complex product suites. So one thing to remember at this point as well is Steelbrick and CPQ, then Salesforce CPQ, are essentially the same thing. So Steelbrick was purchased by Salesforce in 2015, but it's still the same fundamental product. So there is often terms that are thrown in together. So you often hear CPQ or Quote-to-Cash, but there is fundamentally a difference. So whereas CPQ is more around the quoting and generating complex quotes from a complex set of products, Quote-to-Cash is the full process of generating your quotes from a complex set of products and then bringing that all the way through to billing. And so Salesforce does have a full offering for this suite. So they have Salesforce CPQ and Salesforce Billing, which together they include as Quote-to-Cash. So what are some of the benefits of Salesforce CPQ specifically? Well, it's native to Salesforce, so that brings a whole heap of benefits. One of those being that it's familiar to Salesforce users, so it uses the standard UI. So it's if you're already in Salesforce, it's going to be very familiar to what your users already know. You get the same update schedule as with Salesforce releases, so there's three releases a year. It's available in Lightning, so if you are already using Lightning, or if you want to upgrade to Lightning, CPQ certainly isn't going to hold you back in that respect. It's available on mobile, so if you have sales users on the field, then they can completely use this Salesforce CPQ on their phones. And of course, because it is built by Salesforce, it integrates seamlessly with the rest of your CRM, because it's native on the Salesforce platform. So we're now just going to sort of go through step by step to discuss each point of CPQ so we can get to understand it in a little more detail. So I'm going to introduce this company of ours, of Bright Computers. So Bright Computers is a company that sells laptops, server solutions, and cloud backup solutions to businesses for their regions. So configure. So the C in CPQ is talking about the product configuration. So within the Salesforce CPQ offering, there's a number of options that you have in order to help you to configure your products. The first one of these is a product option. So this allows you to bundle up products into some hierarchy so that you can sell them as a bundle. So one example of this might be in Bright Computers, we sell laptops, and within that laptop bundle, that has a number of things, like the RAM, the hard drive, the mouse, the keyboard, and these are all things that sit within the bundle of the laptop. And then you can use configuration attributes. So these are things that you can then apply to a bundle that determines something about that product set. So one of these options might be that you have a configuration attribute on the bundle to say, is this UK or is this for UK or US? And then that configuration attribute, you can tie it in with some other things, product rules, which we'll talk about in a minute, to make it then dynamically remove or add the American keyboards if you've selected American or the American power outlet. So then following on nicely from that, then we have our product rules. So product rules come in a number of types. So these different types can do different things. First one of which is a validation. So you may have a product validation rule that says that when purchasing a Windows PC, you cannot purchase a Mac hard drive with that, if that's even possible, or you cannot purchase a Mac mouse with your Windows PC. Or you may have a selection product rule. So this is what I was hinting at with the configuration attributes. So selection product rules will help you to dynamically add and remove products from your bundle. So as I said with the example, if you select US, then it's going to dynamically add in the US keyboard and remove and hide all UK related keyboards, power outlets, and so on. Or you might have an alert product rule. So an alert is very similar to a validation, but it just doesn't block the user completely. So it would come up and give them a warning. So this might be if you have, you want to alert your users if they don't include a warranty in that sale. So we're going to pop up an alert and say, are you sure you want to continue without a warranty product attached to this bundle? And then filtering. So filtering just allows you to dynamically filter products within the bundle. So before you even select your bundle, so this could be useful for if you already knew that this account only deals in the the US, then we're going to not even have the US options shown there before selecting the bundle. So then the P of CPQ, so now we're going to talk about pricing a little bit. So there's a number of pricing options that cover a wide variety of pricing options that you might have. And then there's discounting as well on top of that you can build out. So the simplest pricing option is, of course, list pricing, which is probably the one that most of you are familiar with, because this is just simply the price that is given. So the price that is given is the price that it uses. And this could be, for example, the laptop is always going to be £799, regardless of any other attributes of it. Then you may have a cost plus markup pricing. So this is a bit less familiar, but an example of this might be the server. So I know that servers in my Bright computers cost £200 each, but I want to sell these on a cost plus markup. So I define the cost on the product level of £200, and then when I add that product to my basket, I define it with a markup of 10%. So I will sell it then at a value of £220. Another option is percent of total. So percent of total is a way of getting a percent of the total value, really. So either you can make it the value of the bundle that it sits within, or the total value of the quote. So an example here might be that a warranty is priced at 10% of the value of the total bundle that it sits within. So if I purchase a laptop for £799 and warranty is at 10%, then I know that the warranty is going to be £79. Then another option is then block pricing. So block pricing is a method for selling bulk amounts of products at set prices, at defined prices. So for example, you may sell your mice at 10 mice for £100, or 20 mice for £150, or 30 mice for £175, for example. And then if none of these options sort of get you to where you want, you can then go in and customize it very heavily. So you can use price rules, which are declarative, so they're point and click, easy to configure. Or if that doesn't even get you what you need, you can then go down a code route and write custom calculator plugins. So now we're just going to talk about some discount options. So discount options fall into a couple of categories. The first of which is system discounts. So these are applied without the intervention of the user. They're just going to pop in to the quotes automatically. The first of these is discount schedules. So discount schedules are very similar to block pricing, where they just sort of work in the opposite way. So instead of defining the price at certain bands, you define the discount that is applied at certain bands. So between 0 and 10 mice, it's going to have a 0% discount. 10 and 20 mice is going to have a 5% discount, and so on. And then there's contracted pricing. So contracted pricing is in a way an agreement with an account. So you can define a specific price for an account, and then contracted pricing will store that price for them. So every time they purchase that product, they get it at the same price. So for BrightGen, because Bright Computers works very closely with them, it says that all MacBooks are sold at £1,000 each every time. And then user discounts. So the user discounts can be applied by the user at the end of the process, or you can automate parts of these so they get filled in for them. So the user discounts are additional discount, partner discount, and distributor discount. Then on to quoting. So quoting is the real heart of CPQ. So in Salesforce CPQ, you have this amazing page called the quote line editor. So this is the heart of where everything goes on, really, in CPQ. So in any quote, you can hold quote lines and quote line groups. So a quote line is just the link between the quote and the specific product that's being sold. And then quote line groups is a way of logically grouping those products. So you may want to, as Bright Computers, I'm selling to BrightGen, but because we have offices in London, Wickham and Leeds, I want to group those chunks together because they need to buy their laptops separately to be shipped separately. And when you apply discounts, you can apply them at each of these levels. So at the quote, quote line, or quote line group. But the lowest level to the product will win. So the quote line any discounts applied to that will beat any quotes that apply to the quote line group, and any to the quote line group will beat the quote. So as part of the Salesforce CPQ offering, there is a document generation engine. So this is, again, declarative, all point and click. So there's even a WYSIWYG editor in there for you to make it look as nice as you want. And then from the quote, you can generate these documents on the fly and send them out to your customers. So now we're going to jump out and we're going to have a look into a demo to have a look at some of these products that are being sold. So I'm just in my Salesforce org, so I'm just starting from an account. So this account, not much interesting in terms of CPQ on the account, but I'm going to go and create an opportunity. So this is just going to be a very basic opportunity. I'm going to say it's a big deal. You can see that's the one I always use because I'm very creative. And then I'm going to put it as a close date of a couple of weeks' time and set it to prospecting. So at this point, there's not a lot of interesting stuff there, but there is some interesting CPQ fields at the bottom. So I'm just going to ignore those for now and come back to them in a moment when we get the time. So now is creating a quote. So the quote is, as I said, the heart of it, and this is a custom object now, and we have a number of fields here that are important. The first of which is the primary checkbox. The primary checkbox is important because this is what tells you what information is going to roll up to the opportunity amount. So you can only ever have one primary quote on an opportunity, but you can have many other quotes. So I'm just going to give this a start date of the same date I chose on the opportunity, and then the rest of the fields are not very important for me now. So I'm just going to save that. And now that's going to then redirect us straight into the quote line editor, which in a way is just is a shopping cart for CPQ. So at this point, I'm given up the option to choose my price book. So I'm just going to go for the standard, because that's the only one I have. But you can automate that very easily to select the price book for you. So here, my quote has no line items, so I'm just going to go in and start to add some product into this quote. So you can see here that I've got 3 different products available. And so this is actually, I'm already filtering against a full set of products. So I have a much larger amount of products, but I'm filtering them down just to the ones that are important to this customer. So you can configure this however you need against certain attributes on the account, for example. I'm going to select that. And now this is going to then redirect us into the configuration menu. So as I selected a laptop bundle, so this is one of the bundles that I've set up. And within this bundle, I have components. And of these components, you can see that the 8 GB of RAM is here. And this is not selectable to me as a user because any laptop has to contain a RAM. Then in the add-ons section, you'll see that I have this extended warranty. So this warranty is now selectable because I can add it or I don't have to. So I'm just going to add it for the purpose of this demo. And now, with the added extended warranty, you'll see, as I've configured that as a percent of total product, you'll see that it's taken a percentage, whereas in the previous menu it had a 0 price. It's taken a percentage of the laptop bundle and added that in as its price. And then where the 8 GB of RAM is concerned, because it's included, it was a component part, it's zeroed out the price and its list price is set as included. So then we can look at the server, for example. So the server I have configured as a cost plus markup. So you'll see here that the cost is £255, and I'm going to say that it has a 10% markup. So if I put 10% in there and hit calculate, you'll see that it bumps up 10% onto the cost of that product. And then finally, we have the cloud backup licenses, which I have configured to be in a block pricing method. So this will, if I set it to 3, you'll see that it stays at £50. But if I then go up to 7, it then jumps into the next block and goes up to £100. So then on top of that, you'll see that we have the additional discount fields. So I can add an additional discount of 10% at the quote level, and that will discount the total quote down 10%. But then if I want to add a discount at the line level, I can do that in this additional discount field here. And that can be in a percent or in a specific currency value. So the final field of interest is this target customer amount field. So the target customer amount is useful to define a specific price you want to quote this at. So if I add in 1,000, for example, and hit calculate, you'll see that this has then gone in and calculated in equal proportions the discounts that should be applied to the products within the bundle and applied it. So this can be very useful if you're trying to get a deal done as quickly as possible. So save that. And now we're just going to have a look at at the document, essentially. So we're going to go ahead and click Generate Now on this document. So this is going to, as it says, generate a quote document. From this point, you have options to either save it, or you can save an email, or if you have plugins for e-signature, you can get plugins for various e-signature platforms so that you can send it out with, say, via DocuSign, and that will come up with a little button here, and you can send it off and get the information back. We can have a look at what this document we've generated looks like. So the document I'm using here is just a very standard out-the-box document. Any installation of Salesforce CPQ that you do, but you can customize this a lot more. So you can change the colors, change the fonts, add and remove columns from in here, and as I said, it's within a WYSIWYG editor, so you can make it look a lot nicer if you like. So I'm just going to save that. And so every time you save your quote document, you get it as a child record to your quote. So you can generate multiple documents from your quote as you're continuing to work on it. So I think I'm now done with this quote. So I'm going to go back to my opportunity, and I'm just going to see what's going on in here. So you'll see that the amount is 1,000, the quote as the primary quote, and you'll see that it has a link to the primary quote here on Salesforce CPQ information. So I'm now going to check this to close one. So by doing that, that is going to then kick off the contract generation process. So you may, for example, not even want the users to have to bother with doing that. So with another customer that we've been working on recently, they've actually completely automated it from the quote. So as you move the quote to accepted, it then fires up to the opportunity and then closes the opportunity and checks the contracted flag. So the contract generation process is asynchronous. You can change it to be synchronous if you like, but it obviously depends on the architecture of your system. So we see we've got our contract generated here. So we're going to click into the contract, and you'll see it has a subscription because that's the extended warranty. So that's a time-sensitive product, and and just as a quick final note, so we're just going to quickly jump into Lightning and have a look at what this looks like in Lightning. So we'll go into our quote objects, into the quotes, and just have a quick look at the quote line editor, just so we can see what it looks like from that perspective. So in edit lines, and we'll see that essentially it looks a lot more because entirely in the Lightning design system, so it looks a lot more at home in Lightning than it does in Classic. So back into the demo, back into the presentation, sorry. So just after speaking through all of that, it's probably good to ask the question, is CPQ for you? So one thing that I would say is for B2B businesses, so if you're a sales business and you're selling, as the example I made here of bright computers, and you're selling to businesses to sell them laptops and things for their employees, then CPQ is for you. But one important sort of differentiation to make here is CPQ is not an e-commerce system, so it's not going to handle your handle a public-facing site for e-commerce. If you use subscriptions, so as you saw there, we had subscriptions can be generated, so you can have, it will generate your contracts, generate subscriptions for that, and these can have time lengths, and you can add on sort of custom fulfillment processes onto that if you need it. If you have a structured sales process, so if you know how your sales process is defined, so if you know how you take a customer from being a prospect and take them through to the quoting stage, then CPQ could fit you very nicely. If you do have complicated pricing, so as I mentioned before, all those various pricing options, so you don't have to use all those pricing options if your business doesn't require it, but you have the option there too. And as we saw as well, you can of course go down the route of using price rules. And to be honest, I've never really seen a true need to go for a plugin using code. I think most of it can be solved using price rules. Because there is multiple pricing options, so as I mentioned before, you can use all or none of the pricing option, all or one. I don't think you'd use none. If you have a supervised sales team, so if your sales team needs supervision, then you can achieve this with Salesforce CPQ. So you can tie in a lot of the standard Salesforce features, like reporting being the main one. So because CPQ provides that level of detail through each point of pricing, it's a lot more reportable going forward. So that's all good. So then, in summary, just a quick discussion of some of the benefits of CPQ. So it's a much simplified user process. So as you saw as we were going through the demo, it's all very, very easy to use, very, very familiar as it's in Lightning. It's fully customizable. So all of those buttons that we had in the page, you can add and remove those very easily and declaratively. And as I said, with the price rules and the product, you can build up any complex product structure or pricing structure that you require. A much more reduced risk of user error. So this is because you're defining at any stage, you can define specific rules to get put in place to stop the user from putting in the wrong products with the wrong stuff or putting in the wrong price at the wrong point. You have the ability to lock that down. And similarly, a much greater control in the quoting in the order process. So because of these controls that you can put in place, you can achieve that. And you have a much greater visibility throughout the process. So as I said, all stages of pricing are broken down, and this can make it much easier to generate reports on things like who's giving away the most discounts in this month, or what products aren't being sold as much in this quarter. You can look at all of those metrics. So you get much easier reporting. And I think probably one of the biggest benefits is that it's very quick to implement. So as I said, all of CPQ, other than the plugins that you can get, is point and click. So you can achieve a lot with point and click very quickly. So for example, a project that we've just been on, we set up a CPQ for a company, and it took us a month or 2 months at most to go from nothing to building out the entire thing and going live. So it's very, very quick to implement. So that's it from me. So any questions, put them in the chat box.
Yes, thank you, Gavin. That's really great. We do have a couple of questions that have already come in, but do keep sending them through if you'd like us to address them now. The first one I got through was probably just a point of clarification, but can I prevent my sales reps from having discounting power? So can that be controlled at a management level, I suppose, is what they need?
Absolutely. So I guess this comes into, again, one of the benefits of it being on Salesforce is you have the full access to things, but all of the Salesforce security features. So field level security, permissions, profiles. You can lock this down to hide away discount fields if you don't want your sales users using those, or you can expose it if you don't mind and think they have the power to do that.
Okay, perfect. Perhaps in line with that, I've had a question in. Can you report pipeline from the quotes in CPQ? I think you may have addressed that towards the end. Yeah. You can report.
So essentially that's opportunity reporting, really. So because everything's rolling up onto the opportunity, you can report as you would with standard opportunity reports on the pipeline and so on.
Okay. One other question around bundles. Can bundles be set so that users can configure their own packages and bundles, or is that at the admin level?
So yes, that can be done. So you can create things that in CPQ is called dynamic bundles. So this sort of ties into the, as I mentioned, the product rules, product filter rules. So the product filter, product rule of type filter will filter your dynamic bundles. So if your dynamic bundle is a laptop, it will then filter down so that all the component parts offered for it are laptop pieces.
Okay. And finally, I've had a couple of questions around Salesforce CPQ versus other CPQ options. I don't know if we really have time to address all of that, but is there anything that you would say about this Salesforce CPQ versus any of the others?
So I think probably the main point there is, as I mentioned before, so there is, of course, a variety of CPQ offerings, but I think probably the best advice would be to stick with Salesforce CPQ, and this is because I mentioned a number of benefits before, but because it sits natively within the SAP platform, so it's owned by Salesforce, it's maintained by Salesforce, so you get a lot of the benefits that Salesforce already give you, so you don't have to integrate in with any other software. It sits within Salesforce itself.
Okay. That is it for questions, I think. So we can draw it to a close. If any come in after the end of the webinar through to, you can send them directly to Gavin or to the organizer address of the events at brightgen.com, and we'll address those on an individual basis to everybody post-event. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you, guys.